No, I'm good.
Uh, Hi everyone. I hope the lunch was was good. Now is awesome time to listen to some new talk from Rustam. The subject is very hot these days, and so let's hear it. Enjoy. Also, if you have questions, you can put on the chat bot and put whatever you want there. Okay, thank you. Enjoy.
Thank you. Welcome. It's really nice to see you all here. Today I will be talking about something that I actually don't work with. This is not what I'm doing normally, but this is more kind of the things I do for fun. And this talk was kind of started with just me trying to play around with things and see how things work. And after a little while, I kind of realized that, hey, this could be fun. This could be something interesting to talk to at the conferences. So normally I do more like Java-related stuff. I do development. I work as a consultancy company, but I'll get back to that in a second. My name is Rustam. I work in a consultancy company in Norway, and I've been doing it like for the last, 11, 12 years, working with kind of development and Java-related stuff. And I've been doing quite a bit of talking in different conferences and stuff. And every time I go to a new place, I'm really excited to see how people usually react. In some places, they're very reserved. Some places, people are like a lot of like laughing and joking and commenting on stuff. So it's like, this is my first time in Serbia, so I'm really excited to see how it will go here. Just to give you an idea how it is to do usually stuff in Norway, it's like this. So it's really, really hard to actually realize what people think about stuff you do. In Norway, there's also they're very good at giving feedback. It's basically it was good all over the place. So it's like it's really difficult to know. Also, we're very social people. We like to talk to each other, right? So this is what I'm used to. So please prove me wrong. Please do the opposite. As I told you, my name is Rustam. I work as in a consultancy company in Norway. That's what I'm doing. They're doing talks and everything, and especially security stuff is not my kind of main work kind of thing, but I like it. I do it for fun, and you're welcome to correct me if I say something wrong or maybe a little bit different, and also you're welcome to come with some feedback afterwards. So Wi-Fi, right? This is what we're talking about. And the thing is with Wi-Fi, it's everywhere, right? It's in a kind of God-forgotten place somewhere in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of some kind of desert or something. They still have Wi-Fi because it's very, very nice. And like a couple of years back, Norway bought new trains, and like the first thing they said, that, oh well, you know what? We're gonna have internet on those. You're gonna have Wi-Fi. We're gonna travel like all along the long Norway, as it is, and you'll be able to enjoy the internet. And we're gonna have Wi-Fi, and it's gonna be really, really nice. The thing is, it's called NSB. That's the name of the Norwegian railways, and that Wi-Fi thingy, that's what it's called, right? It's not protected, it's not password protected, anything. You just connect, you log in, and you're good to go. Wi-Fi is, again, also in different cafes and places like that where you can drink coffee. It's also like kind of weird place, right? It looks kind of shady, but they have Wi-Fi. Cool. Another thing, it's also the thing I forgot to tell about myself, but you probably saw it on the slide, is that I am leading a Java Zone conference in Oslo, which is actually one of the biggest, probably the biggest community-driven Java conference in the world. And I've been also leading the Norwegian Java user group for a couple of years. So this is picture from the conference. This is kind of where the sessions are, so people are gone, so it's kind of empty and everything. So it's like totally random conference, right? Java Zone. Again, Wi-Fi, right? Not protected, no passwords, no nothing. And again, well, it's very, very practical, right? You don't have to bother with cables. You don't have to bother with like any kind of things, which is really cool. Then people start using that. And then people realize that, hey, we can actually misuse that. And then things go wrong. So this is like some just random stuff I picked up from the newspapers. Some of it is in Norwegian, some of it is in English. This is how easy you can lose all your data to the people who want to get that, and all those kind of things. So the travelers, when we travel, we kind of connect to all kind of weird networks all around the place. Then this happened. Who have seen this thing? Yeah, thank you, perfect. That happened on Monday. So basically the Wi-Fi as it is, as we know it, isn't safe, even though you have passwords and stuff, even though you have all the encryption kind of things. And this is what I want to talk to you about, and to explain how those things can be misused. And also, another thing is that actually all those kind of techniques that are used to get into the Wi-Fi's, you can actually use for mobile phones as well. It's been proven in like different conferences, like DEF CON and all those the other ones where they actually put up a private mobile mast in the conference. They just brought a like huge receiver and people just connected to that, and then they were doing some crazy stuff with it, right? This happened in Norway a couple of years ago when they realized there were like a bunch of unauthorized mobile masts in the middle of Oslo, in the middle of the capital, and they were like, whoa, what's going on? And then, there was like lots of newspaper things and everything, and what they realized was that after a couple of weeks, I think, if I remember it correctly, of investigation and noise and like articles and everything, the Secret Service guys in Norway, they were like, you know what, it was us, but, zip it, we're done, we just remove everything, it's gone. So it's kind of funny, right? But the thing is that, so this kind of things can be actually used, and it's very simple. This is how my phone used to, I mean, it's an old screenshot. I mean, if you have seen Android last couple of years, you probably realize it's an old screenshot, but there is a reason for that, because I really, 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 really try not. So my network setting thingy doesn't look like that anymore. So hence the old screenshot. This is my own thing. Those two blurred ones, those are actually the real thing that is actually networks, like my home network, my work network, and something else. But all the other ones are kind of public weird networks and everything. So there is like one for the airport express bus, and then there is another one for the hotel, and there is some other for hotel, and there is more for the cloud. That's a fantastic name for Wi-Fi, right? But the problem is that like I'm not alone. I mean, most of you probably look. If you look in your settings, probably will find something like that, like bunch of networks, bunch of everything still there, right? The reason everything is like that, because, well, again, it's practical. You connect, you stay, you have fun, and then you kind of go somewhere else and it connects to something else, and you don't think about it, right? It just stays there. The reason it is practical, it's also making it very, very difficult to protect. And you can have passwords, you can have encryption, you can have things like that. And until now, VPA2 was kind of the saving kind of thing. If you put that thing on, it will just keep you safe and encrypted and blah, 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 right? But in reality, it's very simple. It's just because not that many people know about it. And what I'm going to show you in a bit is that I want you to know what's possible to do. Not in any way try to actually ask you to do that or encourage you to do that, because in most of the countries probably that would be illegal if you use it for bad stuff. But thing is that it's important to know what can be done so you actually don't do this kind of things, or you kind of avoid of those things, right? So the how many of you have seen this, like OC model, right? Okay, good. So basically, every time you send anything over the network, it goes from top, it goes all the way down, goes all the way up, and then you receive it, and then it goes back all the way down. So the packages are like a big, huge onion. There is like a small package with packed in bigger package, bigger package, bigger package, and then you send the whole thing over. And then you have all those layers with all those kind of things that you have probably seen and heard about, right? The thing is that the reason it's possible to do all those bad stuff on Wi-Fi is that you can actually do all the bad stuff on all layers. It's not just like, okay, if we don't do all those bad things in one layer, you're safe. No, you can't. It's not like that. It's like if you start all the way at the end, you can do like the MAC address poisoning. You can just basically poison the ARP tables where all the MAC addresses connected to the IP address, and suddenly say like, hey, you know what? I'm the new guy who was having that IP, so talk to me from now on. And then you hijack the communication. You can change your MAC address, because I mean, like some airports have this thing that, oh, you can have 5 minutes free internet, and from after that you have to buy, and they use your MAC address. But then the thing is that you can use those 5 minutes to download an app that will change your MAC address. Then you have unlimited. You know where I'm going, right? Bad, right? You can change that. Then there is an ARP table things that I told you already about. You can change that. You can, of course, fake an IP address. Like, how many of you remember from Windows XP times getting this little yellow bubble at the end, at the corner, saying like, hey, you know what, there is somebody using the same IP, so, well, I fixed it for you, right? You can, that actually happens without being intentional. Then you have like TCP, UDP, so you have sockets, you have DNS on top, and basically like the way most of the governments block things that they don't want you to visit, because it's either bad stuff or like for political reasons or from any other reasons. They basically control the DNS, and then they just replace those when you type something, when you type facebook.com or whatever, anything else, it just redirects you to another page, because the DNS is not returning the IP address for that service you're asking, but for another web page, right? So all of those are actually able to be replaced. That's why when, like a couple of years back, I saw that there were like some kind of revolutions happening somewhere, like with the government, people not happy and everything. People were actually writing with huge letters on buildings with like spray paint. They were like 8.8.8.8, not like go away somebody, I wouldn't like you, but they were like 8888 or 8844. That's basically DNS servers for Google, those that people or governments do not control, and then give you access to everything you want to go to, right? Then you can have some kind of security with your network equipment, right? You can have like the dumb hubs that basically send everything to everyone, and then you can have like a bit smarter switches that would do like only send packages to the right people. So being on the network, you cannot just listen to all the packages around you, but there are still ways of doing that. There are still ways of attacking that. You can just declare yourself being the router, the new guy on the network. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm the new router. Anything that has to go through me, and then you send it over to the real router, and then you're basically a man in the middle, right? So the OCI table, right? So MAC spoofing, ARCs poisoning, spoofing, IP, DHCP, you can do that, right? You can do fake DNS servers, basically going like creating a network, and everybody would just like you can create a fake network that is like everybody knows about, right? I know that most of the people who traveled on a train in Norway probably will have NSB blah blah in their phones. They just create that network, could ask people to connect to that, and when they type whatever they want to type, like facebook.com or any other service, I redirect them to another page. I can, to begin with, just collect their data, to begin with, just collect their information, but there is more. There is actually a bit more fun in that thing, because this is kind of basic stuff, right? You can also do Wi-Fi pineapples. Basically, it's like a little box that can be as big as this one. Tiny little thing. Yes, it's blinking. Yes, it's doing something. But this is a pineapple. This is actually was not supposed to be, I mean, it was not made pineapple to begin with. It was actually made as a tiny little router. And then some other guy was like, hey, you know what, we can actually flash that thing and it becomes a pineapple. And then they started selling it as a pineapple, actually. So you can do all those pineapples and you can put that thing in your bag and then just connect some power to it, like battery pack. Doesn't have to be big, really, right? And then just let it run, and then you do crazy stuff with it. And then there is network monkeys. They usually don't look like this. They usually look like me and you, and they just try. They just try. I mean, how many of you had like a little Unix, Linux box with SSH port open? How many of you checked the logs? Right? Yeah. How many of you checked where those IPs come from? Usually it's not the country actually they're coming from. Usually it's going through and through, but still, kind of fun, right? And then you can do all those kind of things. There are bunch of tools. There are Kali Linux that does a lot of things and everything, right? And what you can do is actually, there are different ways of doing that. So there is something called promiscuous mode. So if you think of a network as, how many of you know about promiscuous mode? Okay, good. There's a couple of hands. Cool. So if you think of a promiscuous of the network as a party, so it's a party. They're like having fun. There's like a guy on top, like hey, and there are like a couple of talking there, like making some arrangements for a date tomorrow or something. I don't know. And this looks like a grandma. I don't know. But still, people are talking, right? Network, computers are talking, and then promiscuous mode is basically like somebody's talking to someone and somebody else is talking to someone else, and then there is this guy or a girl, I don't know, person in the middle that says nothing but still listens to everyone who is on the network. So it kind of it's a part of he's a part of the party, but he is not saying anything. So he just basically writes down everything. He's like, cool. You said that, fine, cool, yes, you know. This is promiscuous mode. So you basically, you kind of cloak yourself and you just listen to everything. Then there is like, kind of creepy, right? But then there is a level of creepiness number 2, which is monitor mode, which is most of the network cards on our devices, like laptops and stuff, which usually it's like blocked or not very easily available, like phones or anything else. But again, if you think of it as a party, you don't have to be a part of that party. You don't have to be on the network anymore. You can actually stand outside and you can listen to the package, because I mean, it's Wi-Fi. Everything goes over the air. Right? So it goes from one place to another, and while it goes over the air, it broadcasts it to everything. You can actually capture those packages, look at them, and like, hey, okay, I know what's going on here, cool, right? And monitor mode is actually a very, very interesting thing. We'll go there in a second. I'll show you a little demo. And it's actually going to be quite interesting and kind of creepy thing, because I have a little pineapple there. And I have a little, just a regular Raspberry Pi with a tiny little USB Wi-Fi dongle there. This is just a screen, so it's not like very interesting, like super funny, anything part of the equipment thing. This is where the magic happens. But this is actually quite fun. So all the packages, they go all around. And some of the packages, all those data, not data packages, they're not even encrypted because, well, because the Wi-Fi is made that way. So you can actually connect to things. You can walk around from one place to another, and it just switches over and things like that. And all those simple, easy things are made it vulnerable. So the tools, just to mention some, there is something that used to be called Backtrack in old days. Now it's called Kali Linux. It has like the sniffing tools and all those kind of things, and you would have like your own installation of a Linux running, and like you can do all those kind of things. This is actually one is fun. The last one there. Because this is interesting. You can just become a server, you can become a router, you can become a blah blah. This is kind of more kind of serious stuff. But sometimes people are on the network and you can't just throw them off. Like when you use it for not serious stuff, you can actually just disconnect people so you get more of a bandwidth. Well, this is not nice. And even worst case, like when you use it for bad stuff, it would be something like de-authenticated, so I can actually record your authentication kind of handshake and stuff like that. But basically this, you run that little command, it will send a package to everyone. Yeah, hey, you know, guys, de-authenticate and re-authenticate. And everybody was like, yep, cool, we can do that. And they de-authenticate and then re-authenticate. Can be fun. Can be very fun when you have like really annoying neighbor playing a wireless speakers, some music really loud and everything. You ask to turn down, it doesn't work. You set a little script that runs that every 5th second. It gets quiet. And then there are a little bit of tools, right? There are like traceroute. I mean, this is more like, okay, I've told you all those kind of scary things, that things can go wrong, but how do you know that there's actually something happening? And to do that, there are like some simple things you can do. You can, for example, go through your traceroute, see if you see some kind of weird jumps, if your network is actually being routed through something else that's not supposed to be routed through. This is basically from my old home router to a newspaper in Norway and back. So this is like, okay, this is cool. This makes sense, right? And then there is more. There is like NS lookup, and then there is also Nmap. There is another tool that I really like and usually talk too much about. It's LSOF. It is a fantastic tool because it basically lists all the file handlers in Linux. But since everything in Linux is file, so your keyboard is a file, your mouse is a file, your network interface is a file, you can actually look through things. You can actually see who is listening to port something, who is keeping on the file so you can delete it, and so on, right? And then you can do things like that, right? Who owns the port, blah, or you can do which username is running, or what processes is run by some specific username, and on those kind of things. And that being said, when we talk about Nmap, there is this funny screenshot from a movie. Any of you recognize the movie? Good. Okay. There's a little bit too few hands, really. Okay, there is another one. Okay, that's better. Matrix. So according to the movie, they actually, well, that's the kind of cool thing to see. They actually have used the real tool, not like Hollywood OS. And basically, apparently, as you can see there, Nmap was actually the thing that took down the Matrix. Really cool, right? But basically what Nmap does is to map the network. So when you map the network, you know where things are, what things are doing, and then you can actually go into something else like this that will actually show you what's actually going on there. You can listen to the network basically. So this is a list of, this is Wireshark. And there is a list of things that's going on in the network. So as long as I'm connected to the network, I can do that. And that is why the crack, this thing that was discovered on Monday, is actually kind of dangerous because, well, this is how it can be used, because when you get onto the network using that soft spot on the authentication thing, you can actually do that afterwards. So anything that is not running on HTTPS, which is, well, basically encrypted, you can actually listen to. And when all those things happen, you start kind of seeing things. So you kind of see through the facade of the normal things, and you actually see what's behind it, and you can actually see what servers are talking to you, what services are talking to you, and all those kind of things, right? And with all that possibilities, I mean, there is quite easy to get there. For most of us, for people with a little bit of technical background, it's very easy to get there, and it's very hard to protect yourself. So, like saying things like, well, MAC filtering on your router, that doesn't work well because you can change your MAC address. You can also do the same with your DHCP server. You can have a smaller IP range, but that's cool. I will just steal a IP and use. I can use like bigger antenna to compensate for, like, on the other side, outside the building, to compensate for the weak signal from the router. That doesn't work. The thing that actually works is encryption. Encryption in VPN is actually working quite well. So unless you actually are able to crack that encryption, then you can sleep a little bit better at night, right? And then there are things like VPN, which is quite good. There are things like Tor, which has been compromised lately, but, well, recently, not very lately, but recently. So, but still, I mean, it's safer, right? And then there are things like this. And this is basically what you can do with the little pineapple. You put it in a big coffee cup, and you take it with you to a coffee shop, put it on a table, and just sit there. And basically what happens is that there is a lot of things going on in there. There is a little power, and there is a little thing. It could be a specific thing like this, right? Pineapple. It could be actually just a tiny little Raspberry. This is not even the latest Raspberry. This is Raspberry Pi 2. And, well, it's powerful enough, right? So I did this little thing just to show you the setup. There is like a keyboard for the scale and the screen for the scale, and this is actually the keyboard, just to give you the scale of the whole thing, right? And all that is just commodity, nice to have just to set it up. Then I don't need all that when that thing is running. I just need it just for the demo stuff and everything, right? What happens is that there is this fantastic link that explains all the frame types on the Wi-Fi, because there is not only just data frame stuff, there is more. There are like broadcast packages, there are like some service packages, there are blah, blah, blah. There are lots of different ones. And the Samsung and Apple and all those other big guys delivering network equipment, like phones typically, they tried to do something about it. They actually miserably failed. In most of the cases, they basically ended up rolling back. But the thing is that whenever your device is in your pocket and Wi-Fi is on, or your laptop or anything, it's actually sending lots of signals because, well, for your own convenience, right? Because then when you come to work, it would just connect like this to your network at work and just stay there and be cool, right? Which is fantastic. But there is a little but. Thing is, you remember that list I showed you with all the networks I had? Thing is, it's going through that list and looking for all those networks all the time. So basically, it's like screaming all the time. Actually, you know what? While I'm talking, I'll ask you to do one thing. Take out your mobile phones, turn off the Wi-Fi, and turn it on again, just for fun, for the heck of it. Just like on and off on Wi-Fi, it will be fun. Nothing bad will happen, I promise. But I'll get more data in a little bit, so we can look at that. So basically, the phones will start screaming about like, hey, I don't have internet, I want to connect. are those networks there? And well, you can capture that, and it's not encrypted. And what you can actually do is kind of creepy, because you can actually know where people have been. I might not know when, but I'll still know where you've been, because most of the Wi-Fi networks have some kind of description, right? So I ran that thing at work, and I was like, why my colleagues have been to that place or the other place, or like I don't know, some kind of office. It's kind of weird, right? But then you're actually leaking that information from your pocket, from your laptop, all the time, and it's kind of interesting, right? Okay, I'll show you first a demo here. Okay, if I stop this. I have this little pineapple running. Basically, it's doing exactly the same that my Raspberry Pi is doing, but this is kind of interesting because you can see all the MAC addresses. This is your MAC addresses. And there is a lot of devices that you might recognize, and they have been looking for different networks, and those networks actually might have been created because, okay, any of those look familiar? That was all your devices. That was just when I asked you to turn it off and on again. They just broadcasted all the packages and said like, hey, anybody here? Well, you're there. And then you can do funny stuff. You can just take, for example, cron, and then I take this this MAC address, and then I can see where you've been. Oh, wait, I'll do it again. It refreshes. So you've been to some kind of first floor of some kind of TP thing, Business France guest. Okay. Linksys, probably at home. Wi-Fi airport, yeah, there you go. So you have some kind of Wi-Fi airport thing that you have not deleted. You lucky stranger. Thank you for sharing the information, but like, you know, delete that stuff. But then what you can actually do, it's like then I have a bit even more information on this thing. So if I kill that off, just give me a second. I'll show you the file. I'll transfer it over to my laptop. So basically what you do, you leak all that information, and that information can be used by advertisement companies, by bad guys, by everyone, for several things actually. Because it can be used to talking and doing stuff. It's kind of hard. I'm not really good at multitasking apparently. Okay, let's see. Where is the file? Give me a second. Should be here. Okay, found it. Okay, uploading. It should show up on the Dropbox thingy in a second. What I had running there was a tiny little Python script and a tiny little Wi-Fi dongle I bought on eBay. Thing is, I mean, like before I used to have, I still have it at home. I didn't bring it because it's no really point. There were like a bigger Wi-Fi dongles, USB connected and everything that could do all those things that your normal Wi-Fi and network card will not be able to do. Doing package injection, doing all those promiscuous mode and monitor mode and all those kind of things. Right now you don't need that. I bought that one on eBay for $1. And that one has all those things available. I don't have to do that. I can also set up a very simple, it's actually made by the same guys, the Alpha guys, this little router that is able to run all that kind of software. And also it's doing like, first I map where you are, right? Kind of bad. But then I can do some other thing. I have this thing, karma thing running here. And basically what it's doing, it's looking for your networks that you broadcast that are not that are not there, and it creates them. So if we go to a list of networks right now, we should be able to see some networks that are not there, but still kind of being broadcasted by my little thing, because it actually notices those and creates fake Wi-Fi's with those addresses and makes you to connect to that, and then I can do bad stuff, right? Also what it does, it actually basically says if anybody asks for a network, for like say a home network, and say like, hey, is this thing there? And he captures that package, he creates the network and say, hey, yep, that's me. And then another guy is like, where's my home network? And it's like, yep, that's me. And then it keeps on doing that. And when you do that, then you can just reroute all the traffic without you noticing it even. And then I can see all that with this. I mean, we'll see if that works. That probably might not work. Oh, maybe it will work. Yeah. So this is all traffic going through my router. And as you can see, there's a lot of traffic going through. And this thing is not even connected to internet. This is your devices trying to ping that thing and send stuff to it. Also what it did, actually, it also created an extra Wi-Fi network called this. This is also that thing. And if you connect to that, then I still have you. So all that kind of security stuff with the encryption and everything, yes, fine, I cannot see what you're surfing on unless you actually do it unencrypted. But I can still know where you've been, what you've been doing, what kind of interest you might have. I mean, since you can actually geocode all, I mean, there are services online where you can buy data about where different Wi-Fi's belong to, I mean, like geographically with GPS coordinates and stuff. Then I basically can map your travel pattern. I know where you've been. Well, I might not know when you've been there, but I still know that you've been there. I might know what your interests are. I might use some advertisements to send to you and all those kind of things, which is, when you think about it, it's like, well, I don't do anything bad, so it's not that really scary. But when you think about it, again, it might be a little bit kind of shady. Actually, you know what, the funny thing, I was trying this thing in the hotel today in the morning, and I ended up walking in my own trap, because that thing just creates a fake network for a hotel network as well. So my laptop was just connected to that instead of connecting to the hotel network, and guess what? I didn't have internet. So I actually had to go in and put a exception for my laptop and not to connect to that thing. Because otherwise it would be just like, yeah, I had to go in here and just add stuff, so it won't be able actually to block myself, so I actually could have internet. Because what I do afterwards, I'm basically sharing the internet through the Wi-Fi into the laptop, through the Ethernet cable, into that thing, so you can actually still sit there, have surf and have internet without noticing anything, and I can still sit here and look at all your traffic. So what I want you to do is just be aware of that. I really do not encourage you to use it for anything. Just know about it and be careful with it, and be careful with connecting to like shady places and scary stuff. And also this link, it's extremely boring page. I mean, there is no fancy styling or anything, but it's really, really nice to way of explaining all the different types of packages. And what I'm using to know what wireless things you've been connected to is those probe request frames. So basically, it sends the probes and asks for the connection and everything. that is pretty much all I have time for, and I have, I think, around like 5 minutes or 4 minutes for some questions or any comments or anything. Again, this is not something I work with normally. This is what I've been playing around with. This is what I've been kind of wanted to share with the other people. And if you have any thoughts, comments, or anything, you're welcome to write to me on Twitter, email, or you can ask here in public. There is, I think, a mic over there. So up with your hands if you have a question or a comment or just like anything really. Okay, I'll put on those things as well, so actually hear what you're saying.
Hi.
Hello.
So you mentioned that the Tor was compromised. You corrected yourself. So it was lately, not lately, but
well, it's like it's when was that? I think it was like about a year ago when they managed to find some kind of.
It's even more. It's
yeah,
more
maybe it's even more. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was when they basically able to track where things were coming from without. Because well, that's what Tor is about. It's like all the links and things are connected, interconnected, and sending around and just going anywhere. So you cannot track the origin. But the thing is that they did some kind of smart thing, infected some nodes, and they were actually being able to backtrack. But it's been some time now. I mean, it feels very recent for me, but I think it's been like maybe 2 years or something. I don't know. I don't remember exactly when it was.
Yeah, a few years, I guess.
Yeah. So that's what I was referring to, really.
More questions?
Yeah. There is one over there. I don't hear anything, especially with those on.
Did you watch Mr. Robot, and what are your thoughts about the TV show?
Mr. what? Mr. who?
Mr. Robot, the TV show. Did you saw it?
Oh, Mr. Robot. No, not really. Actually, I travel a lot to conferences. No, sorry. No, actually, I didn't see that much of it, but it's yeah, no.
Okay. So,
but we can talk more about that later.
yeah. So, last question. Like, what do you see like a solution for all these kind of things? Like, what should change to have more secure in our pockets?
The thing is, like, what I've, for example, do quite often. I have a little app on my phone that basically turns off the Wi-Fi the moment I leave home. It's using some kind of positioning thing. Without using GPS, it knows where I am, and when I just arrive to work, it sets it like my phone on silent and blah blah blah. But it's also using, for example, setting my Wi-Fi on, and then I leave work, it turns off the Wi-Fi. So I kind of minimize this kind of leaking thing. Also, another thing is that you again delete those old Wi-Fis from the list because for two reasons. Like one, people tracking you, knowing where you've been, knowing like, for example, it's like free internet. Right, I offer you free internet saying you have to log in with your email, your name and everything. I have your name and then I use something like that running in the background. I know where you've been. I can actually sell that data to some company that would be interested in your personal interests and your like things you've been, right? So you delete that because of this kind of things, but you also might be a good idea to delete that so I cannot run Pineapple like this pretending being your home network while you're sitting here and making you to connect to that. Because what I can also do, I can boost the strength of this thing so I basically overshout the other Wi-Fi and your devices will automatically connect to me because I am shouting the loudest in the room. And they were like, ooh, better signal, cool, I go there. And then you're mine, right? And it's this kind of things that this kind of sucks. And especially with now, with being like all the other encryption being kind of compromised, it getting it even more kind of relevant. All right. I'll be out there, so find me, talk to me, chat to me, and well, tweet, write emails, anything. Thank you for coming.